Benjamin Button, aging is inevitable. But rather than aging gracefully, society is obsessed with halting the process and clinging on to our youth as long as possible. Not only is this unrealistic, but it's unhealthy too. Cosmetic surgery is expensive and dangerous, and more often than not, it doesn't lead to inner happiness. So rather than seeing the negatives of aging, we should treasure the positives, such as our growing wisdom and the great experiences we've been lucky enough to have had. Therefore, remember, age is just a number. And once we stop fearing it, we will probably find the result is less wrinkles and more laughter lines.
Hello, good evening. Welcome to tonight's Fian. So as you can see through the video, we're talking about the fear of aging. So more and more people are investing into cosmetic changes, into changing their diets, changing their habits in order to delay as much as possible the looks of aging. However, it's something that we know is unavoidable. It's going to come to you, it's going to come to me. No one here is getting any younger. And evidently, I'm not speaking against cosmetic surgery or healthy habits. On the contrary, I myself try to stay adopt as many healthy habits as possible. However, we must understand this, that aging is a consequence of living. Even though until today, there's no scientific explanation as to why the human cells do age, but I think much more than dreading it, much more than being extremely terrified and you know, every day look in the mirror for new wrinkles or something like that, we should be preparing ourselves for this phase and see how we can make the best of it. You know, one of the beautiful things that we can talk about aging is that you acquire experience, for instance. I was just speaking here to Rachel, who will be joining us soon on the show, that I see myself a much better person all across the board now, much happier now than I was 20 years ago. Even though I'm older, I'm 20 years older than I was, but I believe that this time, I tried to use this time, of course, making many mistakes, and it wasn't perfect at all, but I tried to use most of this time improving myself as a person, as a husband, as a man of God, as a pastor, as a minister, as a servant of God in every aspect, in how I could help people in a better way. I'm still doing it. And that's what I intend to be doing until the day, you know, the day that I depart from this life. But how about you? Is this an issue to you? Are you someone that maybe it has even become a kind of obsession to you? Because you worry about this. When you hear about this, that you're aging, you don't want to talk about it because to you it's almost like a taboo. You want to avoid the issue altogether, although it is something that can't be avoided. It can be delayed, but not really avoided as much as one can try. But no one is going to be looking, you know, like they're 20 actually when they're close to their 70s. We all age, our looks change, but on the inside we can only get better. Even though the outside, it's impossible to preserve forever, but the inside can only get better. We're going to talk more about this, but I would like you to watch the story of Julie and how embracing faith, how learning how to develop a closer relationship with God really made a positive change in her life. I would like you to watch carefully because there's a lot that you can learn from this story.
From the day that my husband and I got married, things changed drastically. From that day on, I would try to keep up with him with drinking, and we used to fight. We loved each other, but we used to fight for no reason at all. and we eventually separated. Now, after we separated, I started having spiritual attacks. And from that, I started drinking even more. I took sleeping tablets to sleep because I couldn't sleep. I started having insomnia as well.
She used to drink a lot. She would go out to pubs. She would get drunk. And there was a point where after my mum and dad's separation, she would be drinking at home. And I would invite my mum all the time. I would invite her to the church, but she'd always say no.
I tried many places to get help. I'd go to different churches. I went to tarot card readers. I went to people who said they'd help me and pay thousands of pounds to them. But instead of being helped, my life got worse. Michael used to invite me to come to the church. And I used to always say to him, pray for me. I really didn't want to. I didn't know why I didn't want to. I just didn't want to. Then one day, when Michael asked me, are you coming to church? I said yes. From that day on, I started coming and speaking to the pastors, having prayers said for me, taking part of the chairs of prayer, especially on a Tuesday for healing. On a Friday, my life started changing bit by bit. I used to have an explosive temper. That disappeared. The headaches, the constant headaches, they went. Insomnia went. Alcoholism went. I could sleep at night. I didn't have to wake up in the mornings feeling sick. My life just totally changed. Today, I'm free from every problem I came with. And I'm very happy that my son, Michael, invited me to come.
So you see how strong, how powerful it is when someone really discovers how to use this power called faith. And every time I speak about faith, I always like to mention that we're not talking about religion here at all. It's a misconception to understand that faith is necessarily connected to religion, because it isn't. You can believe in God and have a strong relationship with God without having a religion, if you don't want to. Religion was not created by God. He never created any religion. There is nothing in Scripture saying that only people of religion A, B, or C will go to heaven, for instance. A relationship with God is based upon His Word. Okay. On the other hand, I'm not saying that, I can create God in my own way, in my head, and my own image of God. No. The God we're talking about when we show stories like the story of Julie and how she was able to overcome depression, suicidal thoughts, abuse, alcoholism, is the God of the Bible. The Bible is the Word of God. It's the most ancient book there is. There's nothing more ancient. There's no scripture more ancient than the Bible. All in all, it took thousands of years to be completed, written by dozens of different authors that were not able to call one another. There was no way to communicate like this. However, you see it's all uniform. It all connects. It doesn't contradict itself from the beginning to the end. Why? Because even though it was written by man, of course, God had to use human beings because He was connecting to human beings, so He wouldn't use an animal to write, obviously, for obvious reasons. Right? Some people say, but the Bible was written by men. Of course, who would God use? An animal to speak to a man? He would have to use a man to speak, humans to speak to humans. But that's how you relate to Him. When you decide to put into practice what is in that book, which is His Word, it contains the thoughts of God. That's how you begin to have a relationship with Him. And as you do, you overcome. I guarantee you there will be no issue, no problem you won't be able to overcome if you start putting this Word into practice. I don't know what's going on in your life right now, but I'm saying to you that if you're going through problems, put this Word into practice. Put this Word into practice. And you are going to see for yourself. You will be amazed with the results. Rachel is with us this evening. Good evening, Rachel.
Good evening.
So we're talking about the fear of aging. what are your thoughts on tonight's subject?
Yeah, well, I was just thinking there, it's very ironic how a lot of the people who are trying to reverse this aging process, or who are most scared of it, are actually losing the childlike quality, which is to live in the moment and not to worry about the future and not to care about what we look like to other people and things. But I mean, it's obviously natural, because we grow up and the first word that we usually see before aging is anti. Anti-aging is absolutely everywhere. So the emphasis used to be on genetics, on the way in which we'll age, or how well we'll age and how old we'll live until. But a new body of research suggests that genes actually only account for about 25% of this, with our own attitude and beliefs towards aging actually accounting for far more. So I want to look at why we have such an aversion to aging and what we can do to combat this. Well, first of all, society reinforces a them and us culture, which emphasises the desirable qualities of being young and ignores any positive aspects of ageing. So we actually treat the old like they're babies, and many studies have shown this. We use patronising baby voices when we speak to them. And there's also an invisibility factor. So although as much as 1 in 3 people are over the age of 50, you wouldn't think it by looking at the media, which is predominantly youth orientated. So this ensures that old people remain invisible in the public eye, and in fact this has been it's been blown up in the media recently, where one famous TV presenter recently sued the BBC for age discrimination. This was after she was fired just on the basis of her age and not her abilities, again kind of showing that once you reach a certain age you have this sort of shelf life, and then you're pushed out and replaced by someone younger. So a study found that over a third of women over 55 claimed there were too few older women represented in the media and on television. And society leads us to associate aging with guilt. So 2/3 of us actually dread becoming a burden on our friends and family as we grow older. So it's obvious that we need to shift our attitude towards our elders. And one way we can do this is by looking to collective cultures such as China and Japan, who are renowned for cherishing the old and viewing the elderly not as obsolete in the way that we might, but instead as taking on new roles in society and important roles as well. So this actually contradicts the kind of UK culture where it's very much focused on the nuclear family, where people often have irregular contact even with their grandparents, and they can avoid spending any time at all with old people, which just again adds to the invisibility factor. So in fact, studies have shown that China and Japan both have far lower rates of depression and dementia in elderly people, something which could come down to what I believe is collective positive attitude towards aging and the power of the mind.
And you know, Rachel, once again, I bring the subject back to faith. One of the beautiful things about faith is that it leads you to invest more on your inside. Of course, with balance, because we're not saying here that the outside external aspects, our appearance, our looks are not important. They are. But we are all going on that route. It's something unavoidable. As much as anti-aging, as you're saying here, is very widespread in promoting, no one will be able to maintain their youthful looks forever, even though we may try to, but still we are going on that route. But I believe it's important that we prepare for that, right? I want to, if I'm so blessed to reach, my 60s, 70s, 80s, I want to be healthy. I don't want to be forgetful. I want to be as much mobile as I can. And I know that in order for that to happen, I have to start investing now. However, I'm investing also on my relationship with God. I'm investing in my marriage. I'm investing in learning more, in being able to help people in a more effective way. And I believe that this is so important, because even as I age and I may become more tired easily, the wrinkles will appear, but I still, on the inside, I can improve. And I believe that this is maybe not where your focus may be, dear viewer. And it's important for you to understand that too. So faith is something that also puts the focus on you investing on yourself, investing on your self-confidence. You're self-assured. You know that God is with you, no matter the situation. So you're not afraid of the future because you trust in Him. You know that somehow things will be okay as long as you practice His Word. I don't know how my tomorrow will be, but I know that I'll be very happy, very happy. Why? Because I'm obeying His Word. And that's what His Word promises, that if we obey Him now, in our future, we'll be fine, we'll be prosperous, we'll be like Abraham, for instance, someone from the Bible who died in a good old age, surrounded by people who loved him and he loved them. His mind was all there. You know, he didn't go blind, so he died because he lived so long, such a life that was so plentiful, so happy, that it's almost like he said, please, God, you can take me now. I have seen enough, I have enjoyed enough, I'm ready to go to your arms. This is what I aim for, and you too could aim for that. Anyhow, Rachel, we have to go to a break, but just before, could you give the contact details for those who are watching?
Yes, do let us know what you think on tonight's topic and all of our topics on the social media. You can find us on Facebook at Finding Answers, Instagram is the same at Finding Answers, and we're on Twitter at Find Answers TV. You can also find us on YouTube, where you'll be able to see our old episodes as well.
Very good. So we're going to go to a break now. Upon returning, I have here a live guest, and he's going to talk to us about his experience with God. In the meantime, if you would like to receive a prayer, if something is going on and you would like to talk to someone right now, then you can call this number. We have our advisors here ready to take your call. 0207-686-6300. We'll be right back.
Chrissy B, and my show is all about improving your mental health and being happy. Join me every Monday, Wednesday and Friday at 10 p.m. on my channel Sky 203. Visit chrissybshow.tv for more information and subscribe to our YouTube channel Chrissy B Show. You can also follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Chrissy B Show and on our Facebook page, The Chrissy B Show.
Do the maths. Changing your life is not as simple as changing your hairstyle, your shirt, or rearranging the furniture in your living room. You're talking about years of deep-rooted habits, behaviours and problems that are not going to change overnight. Many may say, think positively, but the trouble with that is that you can't do or change anything with just thoughts. But add action into the equation and the outcome can be different. Let's do the maths. Positive thinking plus action equals a change. Whatever it is, if the change is significant, if it's worthwhile, then it will have to take time, effort, and homework from you.
Make it, do it, makes us harder, better, faster, stronger.
My Channel TV, featuring a kaleidoscopic daily dose of programming. Stay with us every day and explore politics, economics, science, technology, lifestyle, culture, sports, and much more. We're here to amuse you, to keep you updated, and to keep you company. We're My Channel, your channel on Sky 203.
Welcome back to Finding Answers, and tonight we're looking at aging. And we're trying to convince all of you who are sitting there dreading the aging process. Maybe you're pretending that your birthday isn't next week when it is because you don't want to get any older. We want to convince you to embrace the aging process and actually celebrate getting older instead. But first of all, I wanted to go out to the streets of London to see how many of you had lied about your age in the past. So let's see what the public had to say.
They say that age is just a number. But according to studies, most of us have lied about how old we are at some point. Finding Answers is here to get to the bottom of this. Let's see what the public have to say. Have you ever lied about your age to someone?
Absolutely. To get into clubs when I was younger, obviously I wanted to be older, but now this is terrible. But when people in the street ask me how old I am for a charity reason, sometimes I say I'm too young. Sometimes I say I'm 17 and I get away with it. So, yeah.
Never.
Why?
I don't have had any situation where I had to lie about my age, so.
Yeah, on a night out.
And what? Tell us the story.
Well, the lady was, let's say, a few years older than what I am, or what I was, and she kind of put an age toward me, and I just said, "Yep, that's how old I am." It was about 9 years off what I actually was, so probably not a good compliment, bearing in mind I was about 20 at the time, and she thought I was 29, so...
What was the outcome, should we ask?
No, with it being a TV show, not if my mum ever watches it, so...
No, I never lied about my age. How do you think how old?
I would have guessed that you were 22.
I am... I'm not going to say. I'm not going to lie on camera. No, okay. I'm 30. I did not want to turn 30 this year, so I guess, no, I never lie about my age because I still look young. One day, maybe I will. We'll see.
So you celebrated 30?
I did celebrate 30 in February.
Yeah, it would be wise. There's so much pressure to stay young nowadays.
Those were very interesting opinions and a very good question. I could say for a couple reasons. One of them is that probably the industry of keeping people with youthful looks is so strong and powerful. Somehow this idea has to be broadcast. It has to be promoted, even though aging is not something that should be, wow, terrifying. It's a part of life. You have your youth, you have your adult days, and you have your aging, and I believe that we have to be making the most, instead of dreading the inevitable, how to make the most of each one of these phases. Anyhow, we're going to talk about someone, actually now, Rincon, who had an experience with the power of God, with the power of faith, and we are going to see how this experience with God changed his life.
Pushing me for the rest of the week, so it's like a boost.
Things were really tight.
Today, the way I see myself is completely different.
So, Rincon, good evening. Thanks for coming.
Good evening, Pastor.
So, going straight into the matter, what was the worst issue you had, or what were the worst issues you had before discovering the power of faith?
So it was the family issues, it was the situations that I was facing in my studies, also as well in relation to my finances, the battles that I was also facing with myself, and everything else in general as well, small things that were happening around me as well. Mm-hmm. So it had a great influence in me as well.
Mm-hmm. If you could give us specifics, what were these issues? For instance, the financial, what was happening?
So at home, I was going through a lot of problems in my family. It was constant arguments. It was always situations, in other words, that I used to think to myself, why is it that it had to happen to me? And then I was also facing other situations at school because it also had affected there consequently. So everything that I would do, though I had confidence inside of myself that I would be able to achieve it, but because inside of myself, I never had, in other words, this assurance of me being able to control myself. Mm-hmm. Because my mind started to deviate from me studying. It started to deviate upon relationships in school. It started to deviate upon friends as well. So we started to do things as well that was wrong. So I started to stray away from having a positive mind frame onto a negative one. So we started to do fraud. I started to get involved in fraud. I started to get in relationships with various girls as well.
When you say fraud, what were you doing?
So I used to do with bank cards. With bank cards as well. So we used to get details, and then after we used to work with them and endorse ourselves with these bank details as well.
How did you come into that? How were you introduced to this kind of thing?
So it happened through a friend I had. But it's funny enough even because I was young at the time, but the friend that I had was much more older than myself. She was around a 6 years age gap. But I had a cousin that I used to always go there and visit and be around that area. So then after I consequently met this friend, and with me and this friend, slowly I started to get closer to him, speaking to him more and so on. And from there, it transitioned into him telling me what he used to do. So I used to see in other words that he was living life more lavish. It wasn't normal, the things that he had at the age that he had. But then after, I started to ask questions, of course. And then he started to tell me, okay, so it's this, it's that, it's this, it's that. And then from there, that desire started to sprout inside of me for me to do what, get more involved and ask more questions.
What was your motivation? Was it the money or the rush of doing something illegal? What were, at the time, your motivation?
At that time, it was more to be someone because I was young, and with being young, everybody had an image. And with having an image, you also want to have one as well for you to show, okay, I am someone, I have something that I'm doing. And I wanted to also have, in other words, that, okay, I'm busy doing something. And it was the adrenaline to it as well. Because it's that lifestyle what is different from one average person that's your age is doing. And because of that, I was like, okay, so I'm with someone that's older than me. I'm involving myself in something that's different as well. So I have something to say amongst my friends that I had already in school. So from then I started to get more involved. And consequently with that, what started to happen, my mind, it started to change in terms of what? My focus was once in school, but then after it started to get more outside in terms of what I wanted to do for myself.
You knew it was a crime.
Yeah, I knew.
You knew you could go to prison for this kind of... So you didn't think of these consequences?
I didn't think about it. Because I used to think to myself, no, I'm secure, I'm okay with doing it.
So we're going to continue talking about this in the next segment, Rinkan, but you see, a lot of people feel that they are in control of everything, and they think it's all their idea. I believe that in your case, the inspiration to do something like this, which eventually would result in something very bad happening to you, and you will tell us later how it went. They say crime doesn't pay. Even people who don't believe in God, most people agree to that. Contrarily to what many may think, studies have shown that people who play by the rules, people who have an honest behavior in business, tend to be more successful than people that try to cut corners and do fraud and this kind of thing. Contrary to what most people believe, scientific studies do show that. But a lot of thoughts that come to our mind, for instance, we can be inspired by other people, we can be inspired by God. If we ask Him for guidance, if we ask Him for inspiration, we will have His guidance. He will respond. But we can also be inspired by evil. If we, simply by not being close enough to God, we can start listening to other thoughts, other voices, you could say. Not a voice in your head, but I'm talking about thoughts that become actions. Like you had this thought, it became actions. And it can be an inspiration of evil. And all that it takes is one not being close enough to God. Maybe a lot of the suffering that you had in your love life had to do with that. Inspiration from negative forces, and you were totally oblivious to this fact that these ideas came from evil. I'm talking about evil, negative spiritual forces. They do exist. They do exist. You see that the Bible speaks about God, but the Bible also does speak about the devil, about evil spirits. It's a fact. And all that evil needs to start working in someone's life is for this person to say, oh, come on, I don't believe there's no such thing. If there is no such thing, explain to me why there's so much evil in the world. Where does it come from then? Oh, because there's bad people. Okay, bad people die and new bad people keep coming. There has to be a source. God is the source of everything that is good. Whatever there's life, there's God. Whatever there's purity, whatever there's the intention of sincerely helping someone, there you see the hand of God. But evil is not something that comes from God. There is evil too. Evil exists. It was evil inspiring you. You were probably oblivious to that at the time, yes. But you were being inspired by evil and you didn't know it. And that's the dangerous thing, I think the most dangerous thing. Evil can be inspiring a person and they are completely unaware. You probably heard of heinous crimes that were committed and later on the perpetrator said, I don't remember. And many of them are not lying. Some may be, but some of them are not lying when they say they don't remember. Because actually it was a moment where evil was in control. We're going to talk more upon return. We'll be right back.
The pursuit of happiness. What will make you happy? Success? Fame? New shoes? Financial security? Love? Education? Independence? Family? Sometimes in the pursuit of things we think will bring us happiness, sometimes we fail to see that we aren't happy or we never find it. We live in a world of people. Rather than pursue things to make you happy, what if we all worked to make each other happy? Wouldn't we all be happier?
Virtual expanses, the internet, more and more possibilities and technological innovations.
Saturday, Shift.
Welcome back to Finding Answers. I am speaking here with our live guest, Rinken, and he's sharing with us the experience he had when he didn't know about the power of faith and how much trouble he got into, but shortly he will be telling us also how faith really changed everything. But I also have here a glass with water in front of me, and I would like to encourage you to prepare one, because before we end tonight's episode, we're going to be doing a prayer on your behalf. If you're going through a hard time at home, maybe a situation that you don't even know what you're going to do, or everything you've done didn't change anything, you feel powerless right now. So prayer can help. There's many people that we brought here to this show who did say that prayer was a huge portion, played a huge role in the change of their lives. So the number to call to include yourself in the prayer is 0207-686-6300. And you can also send us an email to help@findinganswers.tv. Okay, and we are going to reply to this email shortly after you send it. So going back to you, Rinken, so how long did you do this? Were you involved in fraud?
So it happened, if I'm not mistaken, a period of just under a year.
Okay.
So at that time as well, I was invited to the church. I started to attend. And I started to listen to stories. And at that time when I was coming as well, situations started to happen around me where people started to get caught that I knew. So it was other friends as well that they started to get caught. And in that circle, I started to think to myself, with what was being said, okay, where am I going to be in a few years? Though I was enjoying everything that I was doing, apparently, I still had other problems. I had spiritual attacks at night, and during the day, I used to feel like there was a presence that was following me. And I used to get involved in it as well to do what? To build up that time and work, in other words, so that I filled it, so my mind would be filled and occupied with other things, so that I wouldn't look at the problems that I was facing even at home and with that as well. But then every single time I would stop doing what I was doing, then after, the reality would kick in of what I was really going through.
What was going on at home?
So at home, it was problems with my mum. I never had a relationship with my dad. All the time I was getting kicked out. It was constant arguments. And from this, I was really suffering with myself. Because those outside of friends, I was smiling, but then after I'll go behind closed doors, and then it will be that situation where that thought will always come back. Okay, there's a problem going on at home. You're gonna finish what you're doing now, but then after, when you go back home, you're gonna go through hell again.
So you went to the church that you currently attend, and that's where you started to see that people were on a different path.
Yes.
And outside, you saw people that you knew really starting to get in trouble by doing the fraud.
Yes.
Was that what made you stop?
Yes, it was that. And it was what was being said, because it started to make me think. And what happened, I started to fear how my life would be in a couple years ahead of myself. And because I started to fear, I started to understand, okay, I'm having all these problems, but if I see myself in a couple years, in 10 years' time, with everything that's happening now, where am I going to be? Especially at that time at school, I had failed as well my GCSEs. I left school 2 GCSEs. And then they started to speak about faith, people how it came with nothing to the meeting of faith, and then after, through their faith, they were able to achieve great results. And then I was going through that situation. I said to myself, listen, okay, what my pillar was, it was my studies, because though I was doing that, I still had that mind, okay, I still have my achievements that I want to get to. I had my ambitions. And when I saw in my relation, in terms of that, what happened, I started to think to myself, okay, I'm lost now. I had so great ambitions to go to this university that I was meant to go to college, but I was already thinking about the universities that I was going into. So then after, when I found that news to me was that, okay, it's finished for you now. Though I had all these things that I was getting myself involved in, I thought to myself, it's finished. And since it was finished there, I was finding hope for me to get out of that situation. And because I found hope, I started to do what? Apply myself more. What was being said, I started to give myself. And with that, I started to understand, when I was letting go of things, I started to understand the emptiness that was inside of me. And when I understood the emptiness that was inside of me, I said, no, okay, based upon what they're saying, if this is true, if this God that they speak about is true, then this God also must be able to fill this emptiness. Because the real reason why I was getting involved in so many things, it was because there was that emptiness inside of me that nothing else would be fulfilling. So imagine now a person that's that young, what would happen in a couple years' time? If he's empty and he's already being involved in this, then after, when he's even in a situation, when it comes to a relationship, how is he going to be able to maintain it? If he himself can't be able to maintain themselves. So the person, in other words, is fighting for them to be able to feel themselves, but then after they're feeling themselves, but because they're never satisfied with what they're feeling themselves, they always have that desire to search for more. And when they search for more, they never find it.
So today, how about your life today? You don't do
No, today's completely
anymore.
changed. I start to come, things change, my family changed, studies changed. Where I started to work had also changed as well. Even what I was doing in terms of financially and so on, even what the situation that I had with my studies, it was completely out of the norm. What I even ended up in doing in terms of my financial career goals as well at that time.
Do you still feel a strange presence around?
No, because now it's freedom. Now I have peace.
You have peace with you? You sleep well?
Very well.
Yes. You're probably your family is now proud of you?
Yes.
They've seen this change,
yes.
right? To finalize, to wrap it up, Rinken, what do you credit this change to? What was the fundamental factor for your life to change so radically?
Faith with the power of God, 100%. It wasn't mere words, but it was a word, in other words, that was true. and it was tested, it was challenged by myself. And because I challenged it, I saw results. So for a person to be able to overcome, they should challenge the word. Because if they do this, there's no way that that word will fail them.
So you see, viewer, maybe you may be looking at Rinken and he may be the age of your son, your grandson, and you have tried everything to try to put your son, your grandson, your loved one, your brother, whoever, loved one, in the right path, to get this person out of drugs, out of alcohol, out of bad companies, out of this failure, this flop they have become in life. And despite your efforts, nothing has changed. That's when you know that you have to bring faith into the equation. You have to use faith. It is the most powerful tool, you could say, to change a life. And if you want to find out more about this power, Finding Answers can help you. We can at least point you in the right track. Once again, you don't need to change the religion. You have to embrace a religion. The faith we present is regardless of religion. Any person can see the change like he saw. All you have to do is to apply the concepts of faith, and your life will change. If you want to know more, 0207-686-6300. It's the number you can call now. And upon return, Pastor David is joining us in the discussion, and we will pray together. So don't go anywhere, because we will be right back.
DKW, a different kind of woman. So I want to find out if you might have dyslexia.
My memory's not too good today.
And it's almost like you have to be this superwoman.
Years and years ago when I watched Titanic, and obviously My Heart Will Go On came on, and it just brought me back to that time.
And I was with 4 other sisters. Lord have mercy. So you know how they work. You're not going to go over there and say nothing?
Come on, a little closer now, and let me know that you're mine. Woo!
It's going to be your turn to do your macaroons. No competition.
We're here at Britain's Top Designer 2015.
This is DKW. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next week.
Hi everyone, I'm James.
And I am Helena.
Join us here every Saturday at 3 p.m. for Love Talk,
the show that teaches you how to love intelligently.
On my channel, Sky 203.
See you there.
Love Talk on my channel, Sky 203, every Saturday, 3 p.m.
Follow my channel's updates on Facebook. Like your favorite videos and see pictures of your favorite artists. Access our Twitter @MyChannelUK and get to know what's on with my channel. Visit tvmychannel.com and be connected to our world. My Channel, a whole new world of entertainment.
Welcome back. We're coming close to the end of tonight's episode. We will pray soon. Stick with us if you want to be a part of this prayer. But Pastor David is joining us this evening. Good evening, Pastor David.
Good evening, Pastor Edward.
So we're talking about the fear of aging, Pastor David. And at some point, it is inevitable that the appearance will change, right? The body is not so strong. But recently, I heard from a mutual friend of ours we know very well, strong man of God. He was talking to a young person, him not being young anymore. He's going 72 soon. And he was saying to him, you are so concerned about your muscles, about, you know, being toned. And he said, but your inside is so weak. You are insecure. You're very weak on the inside. He said, I, on the other hand, am. In terms of my appearance, everything is decaying. I'm very weak, physically speaking. But the inside of me, there is a giant. I know that what I do will succeed. So in other words, I think that that's where the main focus should be. You know, when we invest in faith, relationship with God, then everything else can change.
It's true. Even our physical body, you know, God created us to grow, to be young and get old and grow older. So, but that doesn't mean that as you're growing older, you are going to get sick. Normally a person starts getting sick when her mind, her spirit becomes sick. For example, if you are watching us right now and you're going through a problem and you say to yourself, I don't know what to do with this problem, and you let that problem come in your mind and consume you, physically speaking, she will eventually get sick. And then you are going to look older than what apparently you are. Not because of your physical appearance, but because of the behavior, because of the attitude, because of the commitment of moving forward. Sometimes you always, you know, we hear so many people complaining, being negative. Every time they open their mouth, it sounds like, please don't speak, because you look like you are 80, 90 years old. And that it happens because of the spirit of the person. It's not the body that's weak, it's your spirit. That's why faith changes, not the physical body only, but the spirit.
It's something, Pastor David, that I was even also talking to the church recently. I'm a pastor too, most people know who watch, that in the story of Job, for instance, a lot of people think that the story of Job is a story of only suffering and torment. First of all, according to people who went deep into studying his story, the part that has to do with the sickness, the loss of everything, lasted only for a couple months. It was not even one whole year. It was a short period. Second, the devil touched his family. In one day, he lost his 10 children. His finances, because of fire, burnt everything he had, and an enemy killed all his servants. In one day, his body fell sick with very severe sores from head to toes. Probably his marriage also, because his wife told him to curse God and die, so she was trying to turn him against God. So in other words, every area of his life was touched. The only thing the devil could not touch was the life of Job. He couldn't kill Job, and his faith. So it seems like it was unfair what he went through, but actually it wasn't, because God knew that if he kept his faith, everything he lost would be recovered with double. It's like the branch of a tree that you cut off and another one grows, sometimes more fruitful than the previous one. And stronger. That wasn't bearing fruit. So if you're valuing more the things that can be lost, such as looks, material things, things like that, that's probably why you are not going forward in life. But if you invest in faith, if you invest in a relationship with God, it doesn't matter what you have lost in your past, you're going to recover everything with plus. This is a fact. Think about it. And once again, we're going to pray now. But if you want to find out more about this, if you want to learn how to become this positive person, we're talking about this strong person, so give us a call, 0207-686-6300. Even shortly after this prayer is finished, you can still give us a call. Let us join faith. It's the moment of prayer.
Prepare now for the moment of prayer. If you would like us to make a prayer concerning your family and loved ones, send your name and prayer request to help@findinganswers.tv.
My Heavenly Father, in the name of Jesus, as we are saying throughout this program, my Father, the Spirit, it's what changes the person. She doesn't age, my Lord, in the Spirit. The Spirit can be young forever, as long as there is faith to support it, And sometimes this person that is taking part of this prayer, she's going through so many problems that the faith, the belief that she has been broken. Broken by the circumstances of life, broken by the hardships that she has faced in life, broken, my God, for the sad moments that they have been through. And maybe this person thinks that she can never recover. But Lord, in Jesus' name, I believe that she and he can change. This person can change a life. So bring this faith, this belief to the spirit of this person. Let her spirit, let her soul be touched with your power, so that they may find in you the strength to fight, to change their life. If you believe, God gives you a new beginning right now. I bless your waters, and I determine that when you drink from these waters by faith, you may receive this power in your spirit, so that your spirit may become stronger. Don't look back to the years that passed. Be strong, because God is with you today. Drink from your water right now. And receive this Spirit in you, in Jesus' name.
Very good. We have prayed. Believe. Believe that you have been empowered by this prayer. Believe that a new beginning has already started for you. All you have to do now is to have the attitude that plays along with this belief that you have. So have a wonderful weekend. Monday at the same time and station we'll come together again. Pastor David will be here Monday evening with a new episode of Finding Answers to Bless You. It was very, very good to be with you until now. May God bless you abundantly till Monday. Bye-bye.